It's December 12. The last century has been very difficult and bloody for Ukraine. It was on the territory of Ukraine that the most fierce battles of both world wars took place. People died here for years due to Stalin's repressions, Nazi occupation and the artificial famine organized by the Soviet authorities. All over the country there are mass graves of people who died during the difficult trials that have befallen the Ukrainian people over the past 100 years. In Ukraine, these burials have a name that literally translates as a grave of brothers, because most of those buried in them are just brothers in arms who were either killed in wars or died in German captivity or in the Soviet Gulag. But now this name is losing its meaning. Most of those who lie in the new mass graves are not brothers in arms. They are civilians who had nothing to do with the army or the partisan resistance to the Russian occupation. Moreover, very often there are much more women and children in these graves than men. The Russian army is fighting against unarmed women. The Russian army is torturing and killing children. At the beginning of the war, I told in one of the episodes about a torture room that the Russians set up in the basement of the school, and where they tortured an old disabled man to death just because they found a photo of his son in Ukrainian uniform in his house. So, this was not a terrible accident, not an isolated excess. This is the norm for the Russian army. Russians receive awards for the murder of the elderly and children. They are given cash prizes for the rape and looting of Ukrainians. They are proud of it. You know, making a deal with Putin now, freezing the war on the front line that exists now, means only one thing: to allow the Russians to kill, rob and torture people in the occupied territories, because that's what they came for. It was for the sake of killing us with impunity that they started this war. If you have not seen a long and not very deep pit in which 30 dead people are lying at once with their hands tied behind their backs, people whose only crime is that they are Ukrainians, people simply beaten to death, with at least half of the dead being women. If you have not seen this with your own eyes, consider yourself a happy person. The romanticization of war in books and movies is complete bullshit. People don't die like in movies, quickly and beautifully while saying some smart things. People die slowly and very painfully. They bleed, they cry, they beg for help, call their mother and children. Their blood mixes with the dirt around, it gets stuck with fired cartridges and boots of those who are nearby. People die for hours, sometimes days, experiencing incredible pain at the same time. There is nothing romantic, nothing beautiful or noble about it. It's just horror, pure horror. But it's twice as horrible when civilians die in the war, when the invading army kills people near their homes. It seems to me that if all these politicians who say something about the futility of helping Ukraine saw these graves that in the last century were called graves of brothers and now they can be called graves of sisters, if they saw them, they would shut up forever and never again would they stick their bad stupid thoughts anywhere. But they did not see it, and they never will. And that's why they will lie, and as long as they will lie, people, innocent people, will die every day and every hour.